This is the first time that this event exists. While we have held amazing summits around the world, this is the first time that we're under the SU sort of global banner pulling this together. And it's been a lot of hard work, and I want to just take a second to recognize and thank Will and his team for this. So Will, congratulations.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Fully a team effort. Absolutely a team effort. Neil Sogard, Victoria Starr, Mona Parks, and a lot more.
You wait till the applause died down and then you speak.
Sorry.
Okay.
Thanks. Okay. So what we wanted to do basically is kind of wrap up a little bit of today. Wanted to have each of us kind of share some highlights, maybe what they saw in one of the sessions that they resonated with and wanted to share with the audience. And then we wanted to ask the audience to basically do the same thing. So share with us a little bit about what today did you take away, what really moved you and really
what blew
surprised
your mind?
you. Yeah, exactly. I don't know if can I go first?
Yeah.
So you guys don't take mine? So I have to say mine came from Ramez Nam's talk, and love Ramez. He's just an extraordinary individual, and what besides that wasn't my takeaway, was that really it's incredibly exciting and inspiring to see what's happening with solar energy prices. And I mentioned at the beginning of the day the fact that Portugal ran their entire country off of renewable energy for 4 days, but solar now for the first time, I think it's 2.99 cents per kilowatt hour unsubsidized is the price point that is being contracted now. That's I think the most recent and the lowest bid that's happened. So that is more than half the price of traditional coal-based or natural gas-based energy. And to me, that's just amazing. I mean, the idea that solar energy could win, it could be cheaper. A year ago or 2 years ago, that didn't seem like that was feasible. And it's clear now that solar is going to win. And you just think about how quickly this is happening and what that means for what this world is going to look like and how quickly you're going to start to see coal-fired plants and all these other plants disappear. Exactly. Super exciting. So
I think the corollary to that is more important than the price now. That's just going to keep dropping, right? And it's one of
soon the sun is going to pay us for take energy.
Ideally. So, do you want to go next?
No, please.
So I was moderating the AI track so we had Neil Jacobstein do a kind of an overview where things are with his normal extraordinary kind of succinctness of what's happening across deep learning, machine learning, how dramatically AI is changing. A key question was asked, what happens when AI has become conscious? To which the answer was, we don't have a definition for consciousness or a test. Then we had Jeremy Howard do a talk. For those of you who aren't aware, Jeremy was the #1 data scientist in the world for a couple of years. So talked about somebody using this thinking in action. He talked about the 2 or 3 companies that he's built in this, but his real thesis was that we can now use deep learning in any domain. Kevin Kelly famously recently said, the next 10,000 business plans will take domain X and add AI or deep learning to it. And we're going to see this happen in live in front of us. Jeremy talked about how he took Enlytic, which is a machine learning company, took lung cancer scans and within no time at all was beating the top doctors in the world in diagnosing lung cancer. And so now what he's now creating is an open source platform where anybody can show up, use deep learning instantly and very quickly with rudimentary programming skills, go and take that away. And then we had later in the afternoon talking about impact, a lot of the stuff you heard here. So how do you apply these technologies to literally grand challenges? We had a couple of great examples of that.
While some of you are away, I had the chance to interview Steve Jurvetson on stage. Steve, famously, at least I believe, one of the top venture capitalists in the Valley in technology, early investor and board member at SpaceX and at Tesla and at Solar City. And we were talking about the notion, again, machine learning, but in this case, deep learning, now being designed into chips. And we're heading very rapidly towards a future where everything is becoming intelligent. So imagine a future in which everything being built has some level of intelligence, right? My 5-year-old twin boys go and swipe the TV screen many times and it doesn't necessarily move, but everything will, in fact. You'll speak to everything, you'll touch everything, everything will become intelligent. And what's going to even pick up the rate of innovation is some of the innovations coming in quantum computing. So we have a few different companies out there. Google is investing heavily. I mean, Larry and Sergey from the beginning have said Google is going to be an AI company. Well, quantum computing is the mechanism. People talk about quantum computing as, you know, cracking any uncrackable code. But one of the major implications of quantum computing is going to be its use in machine learning to accelerate machine learning millions or billions of times faster than ever before. So we see Google, we see companies like Rigetti Computing coming online with quantum like next year. So really some inflection points coming very quickly.
Great. And we'd love to hear from you for a few minutes. If people had, gentlemen over there.
We
got
have
some
mics
mic runners.
running around. So
Yep.
raise your hand and the mic will instantly appear.
That was almost instant. The other thing Rama said was the digitization of power. And that phrase excited me because there could be the digitization of everything. I can't say it. The digitization of my tongue. Of matter, like with molecular manufacturing and nanotechnology. And so just that phrase was exciting to me.
Yeah, and whatever becomes digitized enters a period of deceptive, then disruptive growth, and then ends up, demonetizing, dematerializing, and democratizing industries.
Yeah, the Foresight Institute actually is doing a workshop about that next month. So very, very cool. Thanks.
Next, so what's another jaw-dropping, brain-shattering insight that you heard from today? Please raise your hand and share it with us. We have back over there, and keep your hand up if you have another one, because other mics in the audience. Don't be shy.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Scott Phillips, Civic Ninjas. We were actually in the disaster track, and everybody in the disaster track realized that the exponential outcome that already happened today was simply pulling together the 5 disaster tech organizations in the expo today. Awesome. The conversations we've had, the connections we've made, and the way we've all accelerated what we're doing just from knowing those 5 organizations has been exponentially impactful already. So for that, I applaud and thank you for doing all of this for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's terrific to hear. Thank you. Thank you.
One of the corollary insights from that is we know that major breakthroughs often happen when you cross disparate areas together, right? And so our formulas bring together the leading experts in all of the very, very fast-moving technologies, point them at the biggest problems, and interesting things will result as a result.
Great. David?
I'm David Orban, Managing Partner of Network Society Ventures. I attended Melanie Swan's blockchain talk, and the expression that she used, I think, is fantastic. You should ask permission from her to use it from now onwards. She says, referring to blockchains, these now allow singularity class projects for solving planetary scale challenges. And for me, that is where we are going. Singularity class is the ambition that we all should share. It's not even moonshots, it's going beyond.
Great.
Excellent.
Great.
Thank you.
We have here in the front and then in the back. Okay, we'll start in the back.
So, thanks. Larry Keeley's presentation on the types of innovation, being able to scale innovation in any situation, I think was phenomenal. Being able to take any business idea and scale it to impact 1 billion people is what I want to do.
Great.
Awesome.
Thank you
for sharing.
In the front here.
Yes, I'm Joseph. I'm very engaged with a libertarian think tank in Brazil. And listening to the 5 contenders this morning blew my mind because using blockchain to make democracy a reality was very new to me. I wouldn't imagine that. So Santiago that got the prize, he deserves the prize in my opinion.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Other mind-blowing things? Yeah.
Yeah, hi. I actually thought your session in the morning, Peter, was totally
Come
awesome.
on, come on, pandering.
And, yeah, it was
pandering.
totally amazing.
Yeah.
It was worth coming all the way from the other part of the world. So I was constantly, changing my hats from a professional. I'm from HCL Technologies. I had the CEO office there. So I was actually changing the hats. I once wore the mom hat, and I was scared. I have a 5-year-old. He's growing into a singularity world, hearing about those 5 billion new minds coming online to compete against my 5-year-old. I was mind blown. So thank you for opening all of our minds today, both as professionals and as a family ecosystem, social ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll just say on that, it's interesting, right? Because it used to be that we were born into a community someplace in the world, and your universe was that community. It was like that town, that village. It might be 100 people, it might be 1,000 people, but it was the knowledge, the interaction was there. And we truly are heading towards what I call a meta-intelligence. We are 8 billion people plugging into a common knowledge base, into a common productive capability, into a common ability of sharing ideas and visions and such. And so I think I have 2 5-year-old boys, as I mentioned, and I think it's interesting. I see the world through their eyes, right? They're never going to drive, right? The idea of putting a 16-year-old with a learner's permit in front of the wheel of a 2,000 kilogram vehicle at 100 kilometers per hour is insane. But they're also going to have the ability to have their grandest dreams come true. And it's an exciting world they're living into.
I mean, the important point we make often is if you went back, Peter makes this point often, if you went back a few hundred years ago, the lives that one generation led were exactly the same as our parents and our grandparents and our great-parents. And one generation could actually teach the next wisdom, lessons learned, guidance for how to think about the future. Think about how different our lives are from our parents. And our 5-year-olds, there's another whole order of magnitude more different. There's very little that we can teach them in terms of content. We really have to teach them how to be, the morals and ethics that guide you, how to find their passion, and then let them go and hope they do well out in the world, right?
Great.
Yes, hi. My takeaway was that amongst a huge feeling of inspiration of the things that we learned comes together the sensation of responsibility for what's ahead because of the transformations that are coming. In the AI talk, we spoke about all the work that can be automated, but the other side of that, which is all the current work that people are doing that they won't have anything to do. So I guess the feeling of responsibility was deep amongst my learnings.
And we're going to have actually
Jeremy,
a whole session on the future of work and
Yeah.
talk about that quite a bit over the coming 2 days.
Jeremy did a talk at Davos early last year where he showed that 47% of white-collar jobs can be automated with machine learning by about 2020. And he revised that today to say even more, right? Of course, not our white-collar jobs, all the other white-collar jobs, right? And so what do you do? How do you navigate society at that point is a key question.
So one of the things I said this morning, and I really want to echo it again because I think it's very important, you're going to have the potential to hear something and it be jarring, right? And it might be scary. And as humans, we like to wake up in the morning and know that the world was the same way it was from the night before. We don't actually like change, or most of the world doesn't like change. And in fact, there are institutions, governments, religions, all kinds that keep the world sort of locked in the way it is. But the world is accelerating and changing very rapidly. Now, you can have a mindset of being fearful of that change, or you can have the mindset, an abundance mindset, if you would, of saying, if there's a problem generated by that change, what's the opportunity in that problem? Or how do I use that change to actually uplift and improve life? There is a flip side, and part of what we try and do is, the technology is reasonably easy. It's changing your mental frame and the mindset you have in the world that's hard. And that's why one of the things that a lot of people do in the SU universe is they come back to our programs because that's the mindset inherent, right? Where you get a mindset like this in this group and you try and carry it back with you to your family, your work.
Yes, thank you. My name is Fernando Valenzuela. I'm the president of McGraw-Hill Education for Latin America. And the idea that really blew my mind is the fact that we're going to be the first generation to actually tap into billions of new talents that haven't been included. So on common collaboration, inclusion, and empowering, we were at a panel where there were 4 people, 3 women, 4 continents, and I just ran into people from all over the world, so I'm really proud that we'll be the generation that includes everyone.
Yeah.
That's great. I'd actually love to see what percentage of the room here is actually international. So
Outside the U.S. raise
outside
your
the U.S. Thank you.
hand. Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you. Wow.
I mean,
that's
so-
extraordinary.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Really cool. You know, so congratulations to those of you who actually took the time, got an airplane, and came here. I mean, one of the things that we find is our executive programs are the majority from outside of the U.S. and outside of Silicon Valley. I think there's a real thirst around the world for this.
I mean, one of the reasons we try and attract a global audience, if we want to solve global problems, we have to do it globally, right? We can't just be sitting in one spot. Our real hope is that you take what you're learning here and actually go do something with it, right? Don't just learn it and go, oh, that's cool. We hope that you go change what you're doing, start an NGO, run a company, impart this to other people as much as possible.
Hi, my name is Faye Sahai. I'm heading up the Global Innovation Center for AIG, and I found the impact session with Soma Stout very inspirational, where if you look at all of us around representing organizations, companies, countries, if we unlock and create this ripple and unlock the untapped potential of the people in all the communities by translating, educating, and translating the leadership so that they can create their own vision. So I thought that was very empowering, and I can see it as a large ripple that starts off from this weekend.
Thank you.
Great, that's awesome, thank you. By the way, think of what you can do if you partner and sponsor some of these initiatives, right? You all can
I mean,
kind of really
companies
make
like
that
AIG
difference.
are huge potential. Each of you have huge potential through your networks. Yeah.
Great, other comments?
Hi, I feel super empowered after the sessions today. I run a tiny nonprofit I helped run a tiny nonprofit back in India. We run after school programs for about 250 kids from underserved communities. In Nick Haas's presentation, he left us with a quote that would have not made any sense to me prior to today. It said, "If success or failure of this planet and of human beings depended on how I am or what I do, how would I be, what would I do?"
Beautiful. Powerful.
Yeah. Thank you.
Powerful. Great.
Yeah. We got number 1. Thank you.
Let me just say something about that. One of the key, when Peter talks about the democratization, anybody in the planet now has access to these technologies, right? And can, as you often mention, disruptive innovation was solely the domain of governments or large corporate labs. And now anybody, Lauren can come up with drones and go plant 1 billion trees. Elon Musk may be the best example of this, coming into a legacy industry or domain with a beginner's mindset, applying new technologies, and there's no limit to what you can do. And so it's very, very exciting to be alive today.
Sure, we have a question over here.
Hi, my name is Cordell Green. I'm from Jamaica. That last comment is quite instructive about the access to technology. My takeaway today is there's no question that we are advancing rapidly. But what bothers me is the need for us to have enlightened access. We are going to be a much better world, but I'm not convinced that we aren't going to remain very divided. And so the area that I see in need for exponential work, let's put it that way, is digital literacy. There are many, many people who don't have a clue the transformation which is already on the way and which will advance many lives, but will also upend many, many lives. So digital literacy, I believe, is one of the great challenges I haven't heard about and which I'm very anxious for us to address.
So, critically important. Let me give you a vision of where we're going. So right now, two things are coming together and intersecting that will happen in the next 3 to 4 years that I think are world-changing. And again, all this stuff isn't 50 years away, it isn't 30 years away, it's the next 5 years, 10 years at the most. So what's going on? Number one, as I mentioned earlier in the session today, we are globally wiring the world, right? We are going very quickly with Google Loon, with Facebook's programs, with OneWeb, where every single person on the planet will have access to a megabit connection throughout the planet. The second thing that's going on is at the X Prize Foundation, where I serve as executive chairman. I don't know, Marcus, are you in the room anyplace? I don't think he'll be here tomorrow. We launched last year a $15 million X Prize funded by Elon Musk, principally. He's the largest benefactor there. It's $15 million for the team that can build a piece of software that can operate on any mobile phone or a tablet that can take a child in the middle of no place, where there are no schools, no literate adults, and take that child from illiteracy to basic reading, writing, and numeracy in 18 months. So it has to be a piece of software that is sufficiently compelling or addictive, the kid doesn't put it down. It has to assess what that student's knowledge base, language skills, whatever it is, and then take them from there to basic reading, writing, and numeracy so they have access to the world's information. And then this software is going to be open sourced. And our conversations with Google, who's providing 8,000 tablets for the experiment we're doing in Tanzania. We're putting the top 5 teams onto 1,000 tablets each, putting it into Tanzania for 18 months, and we're going to be measuring the impact on the children, the family, and the village. And then the winning software is going to be open sourced. And I want you to imagine a world in which every digital device manufactured, when you're done with it, when you get your next iteration of your phone or a tablet, you donate it. It becomes a digital instructor, 1 billion new digital instructors in the world every year, right? That's where we're heading.
Great. And guys, I think we're gonna. And just where's Rodrigo Arboleda? Where's Rodrigo? Is he here? So Rodrigo is the CEO of One Laptop Per Child. So single-handedly managed to get millions of devices out in the world. So we've got some phenomenal talent in the room. Please do take the time to find out each other. So thank you, Rodrigo, for that incredible thing. I want to say one quick thing.
Yep, please.
Really importantly, the flip side of the literacy is how do we solve the incumbents, right? The rise of fundamentalism around the world is a reaction. People are saying, I can't take this pace of change. Whether it's Hindu fundamentalists or Jewish settlers or Muslim fundamentalists or Christian evangelicals, there are groups of people all over the world that can't take it. They can't manage this or integrate this pace of change. And they're trying to go back to an older time when things were better. And one of the key kind of thoughts we often have is people would much rather be comfortable than happy. And they're comfortable with their old way of thinking, and we have to figure out, using literacy and other tools, how do you bring them forward quickly and aggressively, because we don't have the time. And so very, very important point.